Welcome to my second ever video. I'm now going to be reviewing WWE Payback 2016. This took place at the Chicago Allstate Arena. Overall, my thoughts on the pay-per-view, good to great. A couple of minor things here and there could have been a little bit tweaked in my opinion, but overall, I believe this was probably a better overall show than even WrestleMania was. You start off the show with the two pre-show matches. First match was Dolph Ziggler versus Baron Corbin, which I had predicted on the network show that Baron Corbin was going to win this. I didn't see any reason for Dolph to actually do this. I thought they were going to start giving Baron this big push, but apparently they are going to drag this out with him and Dolph Ziggler at least for a little while longer. So Dolph ends up countering a move into a roll-up out of nowhere and getting the win after getting his ass handed to him throughout the majority of the matches, which is usually the case with Dolph Ziggler. Second match was the Ryback versus Kalisto U.S. title match. This was the third time in a row these two have met for this title on pay-per-view, and it's getting really old. They've just really not handled Ryback very well for the longest time, and Kalisto is another one of those that they just don't know how to handle overall well. The match itself was a good match. There was a lot of good spots, and Kalisto did bring out the best in Ryback for this match. But once again, it was one of those that nobody really cares about either one of these two at this point. And predictably, Kalisto did retain his title in the end. Then the show opened proper with the tag title #1 contender match with the Vaudevillains facing off against Kaz and Enzo. Unfortunately, it didn't really get a chance to get very far or become anything. Enzo had took a really sick bump where he had hit his head on the middle rope and then on the ring apron, and then fell out of the ring and knocked himself out. Pretty much concussed himself early on, so it didn't really have a chance to amount to anything. I had predicted that the Vaudevillains were going to win in the end anyway, and I still think that would have been the case, that the Dudleys were going to probably interfere somehow and cost Enzo and Kaz the match, but we'll never know. And they didn't. They just ended up calling it a no contest. Apparently on Raw, they do come out and eventually name the Vaudevillains the #1 contenders to the New Day at Extreme Rules. And fortunately, Enzo was all right. He went to the hospital, had himself checked out. All the tests really came back negative, other than having his bell rung and having a minor concussion. Matter of fact, he did appear on Raw tonight, so that's a good sign that he is doing all right. Then the next match, let me check my notes here. The next match was in my opinion, the match of the night. It was the Sami Zayn, Kevin Owens grudge match. This is the first time that they've had a chance to meet one-on-one on a big stage in WWE, and they delivered. They went out there and just tore the house down, pillar to post, beating each other down. Eventually, Owens does catch Sammy in the pop-up power bomb, lays him out, 1, 2, 3, wins the match pretty much clean. Then after the match, Kevin Owens decides to bring Byron Saxton from the announce table into the ring to make Byron interview him, and then just browbeats him and harasses him. And he makes his intentions known that he's done with Sami Zayn. He's beat him clean. He doesn't have anything else to prove anymore. And now he's going to focus on getting back what he calls his Intercontinental title. Byron Saxton then reminds him that the next match is the actual Intercontinental match. So Kevin Owens decides to invite himself to the announce table and sit in on color commentary. So the next match, you have the Miz with Maurice versus Cesaro for the Intercontinental title. Another good match out of Cesaro. He tends to be one of those that can drag good matches out of just about anybody. And the Miz is no exception. He was able to do pretty good with him. You have Maurice on the outside causing all sorts of interference and everything. At one point, Cesaro had laid out the Miz, hit him with a 20 rotation giant swing, and then slapped on the crossface. Well, during that point, at some point during the match, while Owens was on commentary, Sami Zayn just comes flying out of nowhere, tackles him, and starts fighting around the ringside area. And as soon as Cesaro had Miz in the crossface, Owens and Zayn get up on the ring apron and start fighting, distracting the ref. Miz does the visual tap to the crossface, but the ref, being distracted by Owens and Zayn, doesn't see it. Cesaro gets up, knocks both Owens and Zayn off of the ring apron, but while he was distracted, Miz sneaks up behind him, handful of tights, roll up, 1, 2, 3, he retains the title. Afterwards, Cesaro lays out the Miz with a neutralizer. Kevin Owens comes in, knocks out Cesaro. Sami Zayn comes in, tries to take out Owens. Owens ends up nailing him with a pop-up powerbomb also. At the end of the match, it's Kevin Owens standing tall with the Intercontinental title in his hand. Just as he was about to hit the pop-up powerbomb on the Miz, Maurice grabs him and yanks him out, saving him from that. So now it looks like we're going to end up with, my guess, it's probably going to be a triple threat match at Extreme Rules with Miz, Cesaro, and Owens. Possibly a four-way if they want to throw Sami Zayn in there. But we'll have to see exactly where they're going to go with that. Then after that, you had the Chris Jericho Dean Ambrose match. Sorry, had a brain fart there. Another really, really good match. I was really surprised at this one. I'd figured Jericho had been actually on a bit of a winning streak, and Dean Ambrose seems to never win at any pay-per-views or doesn't win any of the big matches. So I was really pleasantly surprised when he was able to finally counter the Walls of Jericho, lock in Dirty Deeds, and nail the DDT, and get himself the clean 1, 2, 3 pin over Chris Jericho. So we'll have to see where this is going now. If Jericho's going to stick around a little longer, or if he's going to take his summer hiatus, we'll have to see on that. Then you had the women's match, Charlotte with Ric Flair versus Natalya with Bret Hart for the women's title. Another really good match, marred by a goofy ending. It seems like they just keep doing this to Charlotte. where she can't win unless Ric Flair does something or whatever. And in this case, it looks like they did what they called the Chicago screw job, where Natalia, or during the match, Charlotte managed to lock the sharpshooter in on Natalia after a good back and forth match. And then as soon as she did, Charles Robinson, aka Little Nate, immediately calls for the bell, grabs the belt, runs out of the ring, grabs the belt, hands it to Charlotte, and then takes off running like he had the cops after him. This, of course, brings Brett in to confront Ric Flair, punches Ric Flair, manages to actually get the sharpshooter on him. Then Charlotte attempts to nail Natty with the title belt. She ducks. You have stereo sharpshooters on both the Flairs to end the match. And now it looks like they're going to end up having a submission match at Extreme Rules with Ric Flair being barred from ringside. So hopefully they can finally give Charlotte a good, clean win without having to deal with Flair and his interference and all that other stuff. It was great to begin with, having him out there, giving her a little bit of a rub, but I think it's now time for Charlotte to actually stand on her own and handle business herself instead of having to rely on Ric Flair all the time. It's just getting a little ridiculous in my point that she cannot seem to win a title match without the assistance of Ric Flair. Then you have the god-awful, way too long McMahon segment where Vince comes out, prattles on about who he should choose for the manager, the GM of Raw. You have Stephanie come out first. She starts sucking up to the crowd and everybody and trying to make her point. Of course, Shane's got to come out, do the exact same thing, drag it on, drag it on. My guess is, since the tag match got cut way too short due to the injury, that they had to pad this out. But God, did it drag on forever. And the big payoff now is both Shane and Stephanie are running Raw at the same time. So, yeah, whatever. We'll see where this goes. And then the final match of the night, you had AJ Styles challenging Roman Reigns for the WWE World Heavyweight title. Fantastic match. Probably Reigns' best match to date, and no small part to AJ Styles really bringing out the best in him and being able to bump around, make him look like $1 million, and also his own offense. So partway through the match, AJ manages to hit the phenomenal forearm on the floor, knocking Roman Reigns out on the announce table. He makes it in just before the count of 10. Reigns doesn't. So they ring the bell, announce that the AJ Styles is the winner via count out, but Roman Reigns is still the champion. Well, here comes the money. Here comes Shane. He goes, oh no, we're not going to have this on my watch. This is a new era. I'm not going to stand for this. This is now a no count out match. So they go back and forth again, start making it. Reigns drags himself back in the ring. They go back and forth. AJ goes to the top rope for something, and then Reigns goes to hit his Superman punch, but apparently he manages to hit a low blow with the Superman punch. Ref calls for the bell, DQs Reigns, again, of course, and again, they announce AJ the winner via DQ. This brings out Stephanie, who goes, oh, by the way, Shane, of course, forgot to mention that this should now also be a no DQ match. So they restart it a third time. Again, they start going really hard and heavy back and forth. Reigns manages to nail AJ with a good Superman punch, about to pin him. Out comes Gallows and Anderson. They pull AJ out, leave him on the ground, go start beating down Reigns. Hit what they called the magic boot, or I forget exactly what they called it. It was their old magic killer finish, a variation of it that they were using in New Japan. Lay out Reigns. They managed to get out of the ring. AJ had not seen all of this, where they were playing it up that AJ hadn't seen any of it. He manages to eventually crawl back up onto the top rope, hits a nice, I want to say he hit a 450 off the ring ropes. I know he had a couple of really good high flying moves. Reigns manages to kick out at 2 on that. Then they go back and forth again, and then eventually AJ goes for the phenomenal forearm again. Reigns counters with a Superman punch, lays him out, nails him with the spear. 1, 2, 3. Reigns is still your champion. No big surprise there. Didn't see AJ actually winning the title at this point. I do like what they're doing with Anderson and Gallows and AJ, where AJ acknowledges they're his friends, but he is trying to distance himself from them as far as their actions attacking Reigns. And then apparently on Raw, they end up with a 6-man tag match with Reigns and the Usos versus the, for lack of a better word, Bullet Club, AJ, Gallows, and Anderson. AJ, Gallows, and Anderson pick up the win in that one, but at the end of the match, they had Gallows and Anderson holding Roman Reigns, trying to get AJ to hit Reigns with a chair. AJ refuses to. He gets blindsided by the Usos. The Usos take care of Gallows and Anderson. Reigns ends up just beating the holy hell out of AJ Styles. And if this isn't a full-blown heel turn, it's probably as close as we're going to get to a heel turn with Reigns at this point, as he just laid out a helpless AJ who was not trying to take advantage of the situation. Well, thanks for listening. Make sure you check out the On the Network podcast and the On the Network Facebook group. Richard Strasberg and Tyler David run the On the Network podcast. Really great show. And also check out Joshua Baker's Beer and Song of the Day on YouTube. He does it every day except for Saturdays. So thanks for listening, and I'll catch you next time I do one of these.